That's a damn good team.
Why were they down 3-1?
Because they picked it up after that loss. After starting 3-1, they turned it on because teams go through waves. And right now, they're a hot team that's really good, that's firing on all cylinders. And their type of hockey that they're playing right now is working extremely well in the playoffs versus these two teams, versus the Leafs and versus the Jets. The Jets, who are short Scheifele, obviously, and who are looking like the Jets who lost 9 of 10 to end the season, and the Leafs, who didn't have anything going either, and the Habs have just done what they can do and capitalize on that.
Didn't have anything going.
Because they're a good team.
I think two things can be true. The Habs can be good and the Leafs.
Two things can be definitely true. The Habs can be a good team, and the Jets and Leafs struggled towards at the beginning of this series and at the end of the Leafs series.
Also, I want to throw out
things
there,
are true.
Those are rubbery goalposts.
Edmonton, you have not gotten away with anything here either.
Oh,
you also, unfortunately, with us Leaf fans, we're in this together.
I got news.
Bad.
Montreal gets killed in the third round. Oh, just it validates everything said about the North Division and completely resets how I view this season. Completely.
Well, when Montreal gets through, and they'll get through, I want them in the finals, just so the North Division thing can go away. So if they really are a hot, good team, if you'd swipe right on the Montreal Canadiens because they're sexy and they're hot,
goddamn,
and it's the summer, then I would say that you should be hoping that the Montreal Canadiens are going through the finals, because it will. Every dumb thing that anybody's ever said about the North Division will be true if Montreal doesn't get through. We know that. I can't wait. I can't wait for all of Leafs Twitter to have to dunk on Kevin Paul Dumont again.
Oh.
He says how bad the Leafs are, he thinks, and how they're going to trade Tavares for Bobrovsky or something. It's just
everyone shut up.
We got it. By the way, Leaf fans, we are all in this together, but we all in this together need to stop doing that.
Oh, I know.
The reason they're tweeting about your team is because they know it'll boost them up. They'll get 20 more followers, 30 more followers. If I send this tweet, I get 60,000 followers. Somebody who's never heard my name before is going to shit post me back, and they might even follow me. Yeah. And that's just because a lot of people will follow you just because they hate your guts. And
it's the Dallas Cowboys of any of the American talking head shows. It's okay, I'm going to talk about this team because I know if I talk about this team, I'm going to maximize the audience that I'm going to reach, because nobody cares enough about that team as much as those fans. Like there aren't as many fans as the other teams than of Leaf fans. So you're going to get the most reaction. You just talk about the Leafs.
Mm-hmm. It's like if you're in baseball and the Yankees lose or they don't make the playoffs, which happened a couple of years ago, you can gain a lot of followers by just targeting Yankee fans. Now, I do want to read something that Brooksy, it's what I'm saying, Brooksy, wrote about the Leafs, and I did want to get your opinion.
We will get to other teams.
Yeah, but this is fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, there is a culture of postseason failure in Toronto where there has been an annual and total eclipse of the heart. This is a team that has blinked in the face of adversity every single time and has become frozen in fear when the stakes are highest.
Correct so far.
Yeah. Is there anything there?
Correct so far.
The inability to change that culture has been the biggest and most surprising failure of Brendan Shanahan's presidential administration. For the Leafs are only slightly more exaggerated version of the Red Wings of the early 1990s, who regularly conquered the regular season, which is true, only to wilt away in the postseason. That changed when Detroit acquired Shanahan in 96-97. It was he, not Yzerman, not Fedorov, not the Russian Five, and not even Scotty Bowman, whose presence transformed the Red Wings into champions. Interesting take.
And just wrong.
Wrong?
Yeah, it's just wrong.
Okay.
Okay, the Red Wings of the early 1990s. All right, so let's go through it. 91, lost in the division semifinals to the Blues. First round.
By the way, Jesse, do you know that, isn't it lovely that Steve doesn't even look this up? He knows the entire playoff tree from 1991.
No, you looked it up.
I looked it up.
Oh, you did? Okay. All right.
Sorry.
I thought he was rhyming off the top of his head. I was like, what the fuck?
So, and I don't like
over here.
I feel like it's manipulative because he's trying to appeal to Leaf fans.
Sure.
Because I feel like this whole argument is based off of, so 92, they made it to the second round, didn't do very well. 93, Red Wings team, great in the regular season, but they lose in the first round. To who? The plucky Toronto Maple Leafs. Plucky Toronto Maple Leafs, who beat them in 7 games in 93. They lose in the first round in 94. You know what? I tell you what, he's right so far. But the idea that Brendan Shanahan was like the first sign of life for this team.
I don't think he was suggesting that. I think he said they were dominant in the regular season, and then they didn't make it much into the postseason. The only time, Steve, in the 90s, they made it past, I believe, was the conference finals against Colorado with the infamous Claude Lemieux hit.
Where they went 95. They went to the Cup final.
Oh, Cup final. Oh, against Jersey?
Against New Jersey. They did get swept, but they got swept in the Stanley Cup final.
And they were in the West. I forgot they were West Division at that point.
Them and the Leafs.
Right.
Then the next year they went to the conference final, followed by back-to-back cups after Shanahan arrived. Yes, for sure. But just the Red Wings, like, when did they just become this massive misremembered team? And
well, I think it's easy to pick and choose from a team 30 years ago.
I guess,
it's just easy to do.
I love the new romanticized story of Steve Yzerman one day just deciding, fellas, I know how we're going to win now. And it's that scoring goals isn't important.
It's me on defense.
And the whole room was silent. And everyone looked at Sergei Fedorov to see his opinion. And he went, Lidstrom joins in.
Yeah.
And everyone just, Chris Draper's in, and they're just all on their knees cheering. And from that day forth, they never scored a goal again. And they went on to win back-to-back Stanley Cups. The end. What? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't understand it.
Also, those were the unrestrained cap years, too. Let us not forget.
They spent a bajillion friggin' $1 million. They were one of a few teams who could do that. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand our new fascination with the Detroit Red Wings. And in a few years, the narratives about the Blackhawks are going to be nauseating.
Yes, for sure. I think at the end of the day, guys, it's pretty tough to compare what the Leafs have gone through to any other team pre-cap.
Right.
And there hasn't been a lot of teams post-cap to compare them to because, frankly, they do fail in a spectacular fashion. The one thing we can all agree on, it's not that they lose, it's how they lose. And it's always historic, it's always memorable, and it's always really bad and leaves you sad.
It makes for a good podcast. So
it doesn't. Yeah, the podcast.
We've been thriving.
We've been okay.
No. Like, we'd be thriving if they made it to the second round.
We would be. Yeah.
We'd be thriving if they made it to the third or the Cup final. If they won it, we'd be thriving no matter what. I saw someone like, hey, Steve, you got the payday, though, from the Game 7 video. I lost an entire round's worth of videos because of that one. They could have made it to the second round, lost in Game 7 of the second round. I still would have had the big Game 7 video and an entire round. Plus, they actually won a round Game 7 video. We were going to do streams for every round the Leafs were in. I was going to get paid per round. And now they're gone.
And by the way, I just want to say to everybody that thinks this is easy, I don't think there's a lot of people that do, but you'd be surprised how shockingly low YouTube's ad revenue is.
In terms of the money,
you're like, holy shit. Like, we had a great month. No, you didn't, said YouTube.
Unless you're Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Then what you do is you gain a big subscriber base. Then you do a bunch of really untoward shit in Japan and fight Floyd Mayweather. It's just how it goes. So anyway, what we're building towards.
Let's move on here because I do think we should talk about the Montreal-Winnipeg series. Montreal looking absolutely dominant. Like I said, it's like Ducharme's playing with them. Berkshire tweeted about it, but Gustafsson out there in the last 2 minutes like it's no big deal. Yeah. This Montreal Canadiens team is rolling. And I think, Steve, you made a really good point in our group chat with Jesse because you guys were talking about it last night. And I think it bears repeating. it's not just that Montreal is beating up on Winnipeg. It's how shockingly not effective Winnipeg looks without Mark Scheifele.
Oh, they're just not even close. And like, listen, my opinion on the Jets is well documented. I don't think they're anything special at all. And the stretch after the trade deadline validated that. Then they go and they sweep the Edmonton Oilers. And I go, oh, okay. So are they actually this like kind of veteran group that turns it on before the playoffs? Or maybe the Oilers aren't quite ready and the Habs are making them look like absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
It would be a different series if Dubois was doing anything. Man. That trade has had no return. He got injured shortly after the deal, and I gotta think it's affecting him still because that's not a bad hockey player. And now they don't have Scheifele. And hey, you want to talk about incentive to win a game? the Jets go up 3-1, and then they go up. Sorry, they stay alive 3-1, and then the Jets get Scheifele back. I mean, the Habs still have an enormous advantage, but it's just a lot harder to pull that off with Scheifele there. They're just not a very remarkable hockey team. They're really not.
I think. Sorry, go ahead, Jesse.
And like right now, just with the center situation, like Stastny was clear. Like I know he played, was it last night, but he's clearly still hurt. So you have Pierre-Luc Dubois as your new number one center with Scheifele out, and he's a little hurt and not playing well. And then you got Stastny who's hobbling on like one knee, and then like you got who else you got down in the middle? It's like Adam Lowry and Nate Thompson. And it's like, what are you relying on in the second round of the playoffs to get through and win a couple of games? And they also looked a tad. We probably overrate the series versus Edmonton in hindsight because there was 3 games that were in overtime. And if a couple calls go the other way, go to Edmonton's way, same with the Leafs. Like if a couple calls go the other way for the other team, if any of those penalties are called on McDavid, if he gets one power play that leads to a goal, then they win. Edmonton wins one of those OT games. And we're sitting here and it's Edmonton, Montreal in the second round.
With Montreal beating up on Edmonton instead.
Yeah, because Montreal's a good team.
That stat from CJ last episode. So I was so fixated on McDavid drawing 0 calls in 4 games against Winnipeg. Apparently, it's been 8 straight Stanley Cup playoff games. That's a travesty. That's a travesty. It's that's absurd. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. It's the sort of thing it should cost someone their job. That's LeBron James goes 8 straight games without drawing a foul. It's Connor McDavid. Like, does Sidney Crosby have to put up with this? Like, and I know he gets abused too.
Well, here's what's going to happen. Next postseason, you're not going to be able to breathe in Connor McDavid's direction. So I feel bad for any team that has to play them because this is never happening again. All Edmonton has to do next season, and this is not, by the way, to diss the Oilers. This is the way it should be.
They know.
They're gonna. You think that the NHL is annoying now with their even up calls? Wait till they do an even up series. I can't wait. And it's going to happen. Guess why? TNT and ESPN. TNT and ESPN are not going to stand for this shit. They're not going to pump Connor McDavid's tires from a city that most Americans don't even know exists. Honestly, ask how many my American relatives, and I love them, could not point out Edmonton on a map. Not a chance. And we're going to pump this Edmonton player up again. We're going to do this like we did with Gretzky in the 80s. Gretzky won stuff. Hockey was exciting in the 80s. They are absolutely going to call the shit out of anything anyone does to Connor McDavid next season, but specifically in the playoffs. You watch.